Okay, so today we're going to be discussing day 2 of our fundamentals review. Okay, some things that you need to remember as we move through pre-cal over these next, well, really for the rest of the year is that when we need to add or subtract fractions, we need a common denominator. Okay, when you multiply fractions, just multiply straight across. Numerator times numerator, denominator times denominator. Okay, and then when you divide fractions, you multiply by reciprocal or keep change, so keep the first, change the sign, flip the second, and multiply. Okay, so let's look at this first one right here. This first one, he wants us to put the fractions in from smallest to largest. And how do we do that? Now, ideally, I said don't use a calculator. If you were here face to face, I would say yes. Don't use a calculator. But my challenge to you is that I want you to try and do these without using a calculator, because if you can do these without using a calculator, then it'll become very easy for you doing it. Okay, so we've got 1/6, 1/2, 1/4, and 1/8. Okay, now we need to find a number that they all have in common, the smallest number that they have in common. Okay, and so when I do that, I see that that smallest number in common is 24. Okay, so what I'm going to do to this first equation here to get 24 in the denominator is I'm going to multiply top and bottom by 4, and so that's going to give me 4 24ths. Okay, the 1/2 I'm going to multiply top and bottom by 12, and so that's going to give me 12 24ths. Okay, for 1/4 here, I'm going to multiply top and bottom here by 6. And so 1 times 6, that gives me 6 over 24. And then 1/8, I'm going to multiply top and bottom by 3, because 8 times 3 is 24, and that's going to give me 3 over 24. And so since they all have the same denominator, okay, since they all have the same denominator, we now can tell what is the smallest and what is the largest fraction just by looking at the numerator, okay? And so our final answer then would be this. It would be 1/8, okay? Then 1/6, then 1/4, and then 1/2, okay? So I'm going to give you a second to look at that while I scroll up on my computer to go over the next part.
Are you in a meeting? Or is your class the same?
All right, so now let's look at number 2 here. Okay, let's look at number 2. All right, so now this time we're adding fractions. Okay, recall, what did we need when we had fractions? Yes, again, this can go right into your calculator very quick, but I'm challenging you. Okay, this is what I'm talking about. Developing these study skills, these habits to be better. Okay, why is my math so good? Why do I not use the calculator a lot? Because I didn't rely on it as I was growing up. Okay, and yes, that means I am old. Thank you. So when I look at 3/4 and look at 1/16, I say to myself, okay, how can I make one of these denominators of 4/16? Well, the biggest thing I would say is this, is that you cannot make a bigger number a smaller number, okay? So usually look at the smaller one and try to get to the bigger number if you can, all right? So in this case here, I'm going to take 3/4, and to get it to 16, I'm going to go ahead and multiply top and bottom by 4, and so when I do that, it gives me 12/16. So now I've got 12/16 plus 1/16, and since they're the same denominator, we can add them together. 12 plus 1, that gives you 13 over 16. Okay? Now, number 3 is a lot like number 2, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to skip it over and look at number 4. Okay? So now I look at these and I say, dang, what is the smallest number between 3 and 14? Well, if I can't think of it, the quickest way to do that is I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to multiply 14 times 3, and when I do that, that's going to be 3 times 4, which is 12. Add the 1, 3 times 1 is 3, 4, so 42. So they both have 42 in common. So what that means is then I have to take 3 over 14, and I'm going to multiply top and bottom by 3, just do the opposite of the other denominator. Okay, and when I do that, that's going to give me now 9 over 42. Okay, so that's my first step. Okay, and then my second step now is I've got to convert the 1/3. So I'm going to take 1 over 3 times 14 over 14. And then that's going to give me now 14 over 42. And then what that means then is that now we've got common denominators. So I'm going to go up here and I'm going to say 9 over 42 plus 14 over 42. And 9 plus 14, we've got a common denominator now. So we're going to go 9 plus 14. So what is that going to give me? That's going to give me 23 over 42, and that's my final answer right there, is 23 over 42. Or I apologize, that's terrible math. No, I said that right. Yeah, 23 over 42. Okay, that's my final answer. All right. Same thing here. Let's look at subtraction. Okay. So it looks like 4 and 5. That's hard to determine what common denominator is, what the smallest number that they have in common. Okay, so the least common denominator. So ideally, the best way to do that is just to multiply them together. So when I do 5 times 4 here, I get 20. So that means this then. That means I'm going to take 2/5. And how do I get 20? I multiply top and bottom by 4. Because 5 times 4 in the denominator gives me 20. And so that's going to give you now 8 over 20. Okay. And then I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to take that 1/4. And I'm going to multiply top and bottom by 5 as well. And so that's going to give you what? Now that's going to give you 5 over 20. Okay, now remember though, this time we're doing subtraction. We're doing subtraction, all right? So that means then you're going to do this. You're going to get now, and let's change the color just so you don't get lost. So now we've got 8 over 20 minus 5 over 20. Keep the denominators the same with 8 minus 5, 3. And so your final answer is 3 over 20. Okay? Now, again, guys, this is just review. So I'm going to then go ahead and skip these. I will, when I send out the notes, have it step by step though. So as you're following along, you are good to go. Okay, if you have any questions, and then we will use our live time to ask me questions as well. Okay? All right, multiplying fractions, probably the most simplistic out of everything on this sheet of paper. All we're doing is we're multiplying across numerator times numerator, denominator times denominator. So 1 times 11 is 11. 6 times 4, 24. And there you go. Okay? Same thing here. Let's look at 9. 14 over 3 times 1/5. 14 times 1. 14. 3 times 5. 15. Boom, there you go. Done. Okay? So, again, 10 is a lot like 8 and 9. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to skip that for those purposes. Okay? Now, dividing fractions. So, when you can't divide fractions, what you have to do is you have to call what we call KCF. Keep, change, flip. Okay, so I'm going to keep the 6/5, change the multiplication there, and then flip 4/3 to be 3/4. And now I'm just going to go across and multiply. And so when I do that, that's going to give me 18 over 20. Because 6 times 3 is 18, 5 times 4 is 20. But now they both are divisible by a number, and that is 2. That is 2. And so when you divide both of those by 2, you end up with 9 over 10 as your final answer. Okay? All right, last one here, and then again, and then obviously I will post the notes, and I will post the key for the homework tomorrow at the end of the day. Again, 2 over 9. Change the multiplication. Flip the other fraction. And so when we do that now, that gives me this. That's 2 times 7, which is 14. 9 times 18. Okay, 9 times 18, that is going to be what? 162. Okay, because 9 times 8 is 72. You keep the 2, you add the 7 there. 9 times 1 is 9, plus 7, which is 16. Okay, and so when you do that, they both are divisible by 2. So 14 divided by 2 gives me 7. 162 divided by 2 gives me 81. And there you go, that's your final answer. All right, and how did I get to that again, guys? That's me just doing a lot with numbers without a calculator in my head, just saying, okay, hey, I'm going to divide both by 2 first. That's the easiest one, and that's the only one that worked. And that is Fundamentals Review Day 2. Didn't want this to be a long video. Thank you for watching, and yeah, I'll see you guys tomorrow in class. Thanks. Bye.